Hey everybody, and welcome to The Split, a young adult book review podcast for readers and writers. You can probably tell that it's Robert Scanlon talking from the Dreamer Chronicles. Brian's not here, but we do have a wonderful guest, co-host Trudi J from the Magic Carnival series. Trudi is based in New Zealand. Trudi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, it's great. The Antipodeans taking over the world, huh?
Yes, we will rule.
This is the Southern Hemisphere show. And also, this is actually show number 52. So, strictly speaking, this is our 1 year anniversary. So, Trudi, it's a very special show for you to come on.
Yeah, thank you very much. I feel doubly privileged to be here.
Yes. Today we are reviewing Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell, and an unusual book, interesting book. But before we get into that, Trudi, a little bit about you and the Magic Carnival series. This is aimed at YA, is it? That's correct, the series here?
No, it's not actually, although I've had several people ask me if it is YA. Like it's sort of, I think I naturally write to a YA audience, and I read lots of YA books. I keep calling it YA.
YA is fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, good. And I do actually have my very first book that I ever wrote was a YA book. So that's sitting in the drawer, ready for me to, fix it one day and actually get it out. So, but the Magic Carnival is a series that I sort of came up with, where it's got all this magical fantasy stuff that's in a lot of the YA books that I read, and that's, I guess, part of why I like reading them. Yeah.
I'm actually about 30% of the way through book one, which is called Ringmaster.
Ringmaster.
Yeah, and
that makes me nervous.
It's fantastic, Trudi. You shouldn't be nervous at all. It's great. It's got some really, really good twists and turns and ideas and characters in there. I love Rilla. She's a great character.
Oh, good.
Really
I'm glad.
Good. So you can check out Trudi's work at trudijwrites.com, and we should spell that probably. TRUDIJAYE. Writes, as in WRITES.com, and I believe you can sign up to your mailing list there if you just type in /sign up. Is that correct?
And actually, you can get the first two books for free. You don't even have to pay for them if you sign up for my mailing list.
There you go. First one's perma-free anyway, isn't it, at the moment? Which is
that's why.
Great.
It's the first two. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend it. Get into it if you enjoy a little bit of magic. If you liked books like The Night Circus, then check out Trudi's work. So there we go. Let's move on to Eleanor and Park. I will do the usual. We will do a quick summary of the book. Then we'll get into what we thought from a reader's perspective. And then from a writer's perspective, we will do Trudi and Robert's famous takeaways. And then we'll finish with a writing prompt. So Eleanor and Park, episode 52 by Rainbow Rowell. Park Sheridan is sitting on the school bus when he first meets Eleanor, the new girl. She's not just any old new 16-year-old, though. Eleanor is quirky. Red-haired, stockily built, fat, according to Eleanor, wearing eclectic men's clothing and very self-conscious, Eleanor is a perfect target for all the school bullies. In fact, maybe everyone in the flats. Out of pity, Park, the nerdy Asian kid who no one touches, makes room for Eleanor to sit next to him on the bus, but when everyone else makes it clear she's unwanted, he has to intervene. Little does he realise how much that one action will change his life. So it's a really, really gorgeous book. First up, probably should say there's a lot of F-bombs. There's a huge amount of sexual references. We've got drinking, binge drinking, drug and alcohol use, a violent stepdad. I mean, it's probably not for your average 12-year-old, is it?
No, it's definitely an older reader.
Yeah.
But for all that, it's so sweet.
Yes.
It's not really because I think I heard it described somewhere as gritty, but it's such a sweet, eloquent book that you almost don't notice all of the drug taking and the beers, or any of the other stuff that maybe makes it for an older audience. Yeah,
I think that's absolutely right. It's sometimes these things are shoved in your face to give it sort of the grittiness or the shock value, but here it's part of the background setting. We have this ubiquitous sort of town, lower class town setting in the flats, set in the States. We've got some people who are probably never going to end up going much anywhere, and then we've got the unusual guy who doesn't quite fit in Park, and then we've got this brand new you can't miss her. You know, she's this sort of bulky redhead, and the descriptions of her are fantastic. And I think the fact that you've got all this sort of there's the swearing, the drug taking, etc. around, it sets the natural scene for this place where, you're going to feel uncomfortable somewhere like that if you are who she is, and she's clearly uncomfortable in herself as well.
Definitely. But that's what's so lovely about her. It's like she's that consummate outsider. You kind of, and kids love that, or I loved that when I was growing up, you know, the idea of someone who didn't quite fit in, because no one ever feels like they fit in when they're a teenager. She was great.
I think that's what some of the great appeal as a reader is, that you can identify with Park and with Eleanor. You know, if you've ever been the outsider, or if you've ever been criticised for something because I can remember when I was at school, and I wanted the same clothes as all my friends, and Mum would always say to me, you know, what, you want to be a sheep, do you? And you do. You just want to fit in. But if you can't, it's really tough. And of course, Park is noticeably different because he's half Asian.
He's got no choice about fitting in. He just won't, because he's the only Asian, I assume the only Asian kid around that area. But Eleanor chooses not to fit in.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. What did you think about the way that they sort of grew together, that the love story evolved?
I really loved it. I just thought it was, do you know what, disclaimer, I loved this book. I thought it was a great book. I loved the writing. I loved, the way that they were so awkward, their conversations. They hated each other to start with. The way they in fact, they didn't talk even once they'd kind of broken down the barriers, because they just basically sat there reading the same comic book.
Yeah, it's so cute, isn't it? You know, he notices that she's looking over his shoulder.
Well,
Oh, I lost you a bit there on Skype. Hang on a tick. We'll come back.
Okay.
Okay, keep going.
So it's the gradual breaking down of those barriers between them, rather than a sudden. I think I saw your review of I Am Number 4, and you talked about how the girl just suddenly loves the number 4 guy, and it's nothing like that in this book. It's like, it's just so gradual, and so it's almost like it surprises both of them, because on first look neither of them really likes the other, and I think that's fantastic. I love that.
It's so hard to do as well. I think we'll get to that obviously from a writer's perspective, but I think you don't notice it when you're a reader, when it's done really, really well. But when it's not done well, and you get that insta-love thing, where she took one look at his dripping brown eyes. No, it doesn't. Okay, that there is love at first sight, of course, but that's a very strong visual attraction. Whereas here, we've got the two of them just sort of peering over each other's shoulder, and then he starts leaving the right page open for her on the comic so they can sit together on the bus, and it starts out with a shared interest, and he's exposing her to something she's never been exposed to before, and she's kind of a little bemused by that. People have never done that for her before.
So it's great.
I think it's gorgeous, and what a different sort of inciting incident thing to start the book off. There's this, it just happens on the bus. It's like everyday occurrence. Yeah,
it is. And all of the scene, I think you mentioned it earlier, all of the places in this book, there's nothing magical, nothing big, nothing. No. It's just, I'm frozen in a beautiful position. It's just on the bus, or it's on, it's at school, or it's at home, either her home or his home. There's nothing, no big scenery or anything. It's just, but it's done so well in terms of portraying the...
Yes. You get the small town feel from that setting. As you say, I mean, it's really, it could be anybody's neighbourhood.
Exactly. Yeah.
I also really like the fact that when you're inside Eleanor's head, she's incredibly self-critical, and obviously she's built differently to the slender, beautiful kid at school that's that everyone adores. So she's never going to fit in that respect, but she is really down on herself. Whereas whenever we're in Park's head, all we see is that she's different and that she's quirky. He never looks at her and thinks that she's fat, for example. It's only Eleanor who calls herself fat, and I think that's so lovely that the judgment in the book comes from the character, not from the author.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, and he doesn't even, not even just quirky. He's just so like there's certain sort of scenes between them where she's like, oh, I've got to cover my stomach. He can't. I don't want him to
Yes,
touch it, kind of thing. And he's
yes,
like, oh my god, I can't wait to touch it.
that's right.
You know,
She's
like it was.
so beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, she's amazing. Like, I'm so whatever, and that was just lovely. That was a really nice. I mean, and they do switch. It switches back really quickly between the two point of views, and I really like that as
Yes.
well because you're getting that, this almost the same scene from that different perspective. Uh,
Yes.
yeah.
Is there anything else you want to talk about from the point of view of a reader's perspective?
Um, the only issue I had as a reader
Yes.
was I spent the entire book kind of angsting about how it was going to end. And
Yes.
there's really strong tension. For the whole book, I thought something bad was going to happen to Eleanor. That was,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that the horrible father, the stepfather, was going to do something. I didn't know what, but I was expecting something, and it hung over the whole book, and
It
that was
does.
part of the reason why I read it so fast, because I was just like, oh my god, this sweet beautiful love story just is going to end badly. And
Yes.
they mention Romeo and Juliet a couple of times, and Eleanor is very kind of dismissive of it, but it's kind of, there's that parallel drawn, and I was like, oh no, this is, and so, and I don't want to give anything away. I'm trying not to, but when I got to the end, it wasn't. It fit totally with the book. Like, I guess
Yes.
it totally was in line with that whole the nature of the rest of the book. But I was a little bit disappointed in the ending. I was,
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, because for me, it was sort of okay. Yeah, it's hard to do it without giving spoilers, isn't it? So we won't.
I know. Yeah.
But you're right that I also felt that same dramatic tension where you think, oh no, this is that stepdad's going to come in and he's going to beat someone to a pulp, and because
Yeah.
we've read it so many times in these grittier young adult books where you do get that sort of thing happening,
Yeah.
and so you're ready for the poor characters to have the worst done unto them. And as you say, it's sort of seeded a little bit here and there with the mentions of Romeo and Juliet, and you think, oh no, don't do anything silly. And have you read All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven?
No, I haven't read that
Oh,
one.
you have to read that. It's gorgeous.
Okay.
And also a lovely, sweet love story
Okay.
with broken people in it, that unfortunately in that one. And that one does have some extremely sad moments. I mean, tearful moments. And
Okay.
so having read that, I was expecting the same as you, that, oh no,
Yeah.
this is gonna hit my heart, isn't it? And it
Yeah.
does, but not in the way you expect.
No. No.
So whether you see that
Maybe
as
that's.
a disappointment or it's a little unexpected, I think that's probably fair to say. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it totally fits with the rest of the book. I don't say
Yes.
that it was badly written or it was a bad ending. I just wanted something slightly
Yeah,
different.
it's your experience
Yeah,
as a reader. That's right.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I would like to just, as we finish up on the reader's perspective, emphasise what you said. I think it's another book where the dialogue is delightful, where we get lots of misdirection in the dialogue, people misunderstanding each other. There's no, would you like to come out for a cup of coffee? Oh, yes, I would. Why do you ask? There's none of that sort of straightforward stuff. It's really, really wonderful. And that's it's a talented author who can do that and make it seem really real. Like you're sitting on this bus, you're in the gym with the awkward Eleanor, you're feeling her embarrassment at some of the horrible things that happen, that, you're wondering who the bullies are, and there's some nice twists in there as well, I think, in that respect.
Yeah, yeah.
But as you said, no magic, no dragons, no sci-fi, no grand settings,
Yeah.
no wizards, and for me,
Everything's oh,
it's definitely
everything's
go on.
quiet.
Yeah,
It's
yes,
it's a very quiet book, and but it's got this really big amount of tension for all
yes,
of that. Like, that's what I
yes,
really liked. And I've
yes.
frozen. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's
Um,
very, very clever.
and also, I mean, we kind of talked about it, but I wanted to sort of say, even the love story itself is sort of like, there's a few times where Parker's kind of forced to kind of realize his own kind of
Yes,
his doubts about Eleanor and things like that. Like, he's in love with her and he totally thinks she's the best thing ever, but there's times when he sort of he wants to stick up for her, or for the wrong reasons and things like that. Like, there's it's not straightforward, it's not easy, it's awkward and difficult, but it's
yes,
fantastic. Yeah.
yes. They fumble around each other, which is first love. They're 16 and
Mm.
and they're both very different, used to building their own walls around themselves, perhaps, used to being insular. So yeah, I thought it was beautifully written in that respect, which lead us into the writer's perspective. And you've mentioned it, that we alternate between Park and Eleanor's point of view, and of course de rigueur, it's first person present tense, and the classic sort of YA stuff. But I love the way you get each of their angst and preoccupations, and they are very different. And it's not just that they think differently about each other, but their entire worldview is different. And I think that shows a writer who's got great skill.
Yeah. Just things that Eleanor talked about that as a writer, I'd be like, I would never even thought to put that in there. Like I felt like maybe she had gone through a similar upbringing or something, because just similar, and maybe she hasn't, who knows, I don't know anything about the author, but it was just some of the stuff, and I was like, wow, this is so real, this is so well done, and but two very different people, so that she did both of them so well. I was,
Yes, that you think, how could she? You got to admire writing like that, where extremely different points of view, yet they're characters that care for each other, and that they've got to be real. You do feel Park sort of, he knows he's the nerdy Asian dude. He's like, I love the fact that he's got this taekwondo skills that it's like he can beat the living daylights out of anybody, and that really appeals to if you're a boy reader, that would appeal to you, and if you're a boy reader who's got a sort of a feminine side to you, then you resonate still with the Eleanor character as well. But they both make stupid decisions as well, so she doesn't just make them have their own voice, she also makes them fallible, and I think that's very important when you're writing, is to have not just the story unfold, but the characters do things you think, no, that's stupid, don't do that, and this is one of those books where you read that and you go, no, that's the wrong thing to do.
Well, even just that whole thing of, like, you talk about Park and his was it taekwondo, what was the martial art, and I mean, from the very beginning, he could have been kicking all of their butts. He's clearly got the skills, but he doesn't, and he's still afraid of the bully and the guy at the back of the bus, and he's still afraid of the repercussions and all of that. And I just think, that just goes to show there's that kind of mindset of, doesn't matter whether you could be the one. And the only reason he does use his skills is because he's defending, or he thinks he's defending Eleanor. So
Yes, that's nicely pointed out, actually, that he thinks he's defending Eleanor, and then when you switch into her point of view, you get that she doesn't understand why Park did what he did, and he's thought he's doing the right thing, and that still goes on even in adult life. We misunderstand each other, and you think, no, I thought I was doing the right thing. No, you weren't. And you've really upset someone, you don't know it. And I think that's also showing a great writing abilities to be able to make that come across to the reader. And I really liked that the ancillary characters in this book were really interesting. We didn't get sort of the plastic parents, and one of my criticisms of The Fault in Our Stars is the parents were a little bit too syrupy. And I like the fact that Park's dad was really real. He was kind of cool. And then of course we got the violent, nasty, horrible stepdad of Eleanor's, and the fact that her mum is terrified. And you think, oh my God, this is real. I mean, we've just recently had some rulings in Australia about a poor kid that was killed by his father. I mean, domestic violence is a big thing in our society. That a lot of anger seems to get redirected into the family, and I think she's written that beautifully.
Even Eleanor's real dad, you kind of think, oh wow, there's this other father that she could go, and maybe he could say, like, he could get her out of this situation, but no, he's almost,
he doesn't like her.
No, he's so selfish that he has this whole other life that he doesn't, just those kinds of details where you sort of, I like that. I found the writing itself very clean, and I loved the way nothing was said obviously. Like, it was all very subtle, and the show versus tell, that whole thing, it's like she didn't tell a thing. She showed you everything through the process of those two getting to know each other, and I just thought that was amazing. Yeah,
exactly. And it's Yeah, as you said, the writing's clean. I wrote that it's sparse, but it's not terse.
Yeah.
And so, just to compare, say, to, well, it's an adult book, but, a typical Lee Child book, for example, where it's sparse and it's really terse, it's really gritty. Whereas this feels like there's not a wasted word, there's not an over description of anything, there is no telling, as you say, it's all shown to us. And that I admire greatly. It's to write something it's not a big book, but it's deep and sweet and meaningful, and I can't say enough good things about it. I'm like you, I loved it. I just thought it was fantastic. It's one of those ones where you just think, when you close that, I wasn't disappointed by the ending. I was quite taken aback with the very last sentence, and I said, oh my god, there's going to be tears in the movie. Oops, connection's a bit dodgy.
We're back.
Yes, we're back. Okay. No problem.
Do you know if there's a movie coming out?
It's optioned, so I don't know what the date is, but it's definitely optioned. So I can only imagine. I think it's going to be really. They're two great characters for a movie, and you've got the ancillary characters. Even Steve and his Camaro in the garage. Steve's the bully, but he actually. She shows his human side in there.
Do you know one of my favourite bits of the book, and one of the things that I remember most was when he's beating his friend Stephen up, who is portrayed as the bully the whole time, and then he's going, "What are you doing, Park? We're friends."
Yeah, yes.
And so from Steve's point of view, they're friends, and I was just like, "Wow, what's that about?" And that was a really good example of fantastic dialogue and kind of that whole understatement thing where you don't really have to go into this whole relationship between Park and Steve and how they've grown up together and whatever, and it's like that one line just says to you how Park's version versus his version.
Exactly, and this is where we get great conflict, isn't it, in any book, whether you're reading it or whether you're writing. It's that understanding that an antagonist isn't plain and simple just nasty. They actually have the good reasons for doing what they do. And I think Rainbow Rowell shows quite clearly that she understands where motivation comes from, and that things aren't always simple, and that the guy who's a bad guy isn't always a bad guy, or doesn't even think he's a bad guy, So we don't get any of the moustache twirling and stuff in here.
Yeah, exactly.
So, very nicely done. And,
I really liked the sinister aspect of whenever she went home too. I thought that was really well done.
Oh, it's just every time she was in her bedroom, you just thought, no, the guy's going to come bursting through the door and do something horrible. And of course he does on a couple of occasions, it's gonna. And I'm the same as you. He's gonna end badly. But the fact that whenever she was there, she would notice things about her siblings, or she would notice things about her mother, and her mother was quiet and shaking slightly. Oh, okay, Richie must have had some kind of tantrum. It was clever. Lots of tiny little breadcrumbs just left here and there to make us realise what was going on. That the tension was always there, like coming back to a haunted house. You're right. So that's a good pickup. Let's go into our Trudi and Robert's famous takeaways. We traditionally do 3 takeaways from the book, can be from a reader or a writer's perspective. Did you want to lead off? Would you like me to lead off?
I don't mind either way.
Well, you go. You're the guest.
Okay. Well, in terms of takeaways, so you mean the things that I most enjoyed about it, or
absolutely, yeah,
anything? Because I loved the writing. I thought she wrote it. It was I like that understated writing. There's a lot of writers that do it really well. It's quite a thing for the genre, I think, and she just did it really well. She just that understated, quiet, sweet writing that kind of. But there was the sinister aspect of it, that tension through the whole book. So you kind of weren't bored. You weren't kind of going, oh, well, this never ends. It was. I just thought that was really well done. That's my
very nice. One. Would wholeheartedly agree. I'll go with takeaway number 2. I think Eleanor and Park is full of potential cliches. You know, you've got the awkward girl, you've got the Asian guy, you've got the school bully, you've got the small town setting, you've got the violent dad, you've got the absent dad, you've got the scared mother, you've got the family crammed into one bedroom, or the siblings anyway. And yet I never ever felt I was reading a cliche.
No.
And to be able to do that and create meaningful characters that didn't just turn into cliches of, you know, the kind of Asian nerdy guy or the fat girl who didn't like herself. It could have descended into that, and it never ever did. And I think that made the book really real. Yeah,
me too. I agree. Definitely.
Finish up with a third.
I've got... I have two here, and I don't want to be negative, and so I might avoid saying anything more about the ending. But so I just think that she had that great dialogue going on. It always felt very real to me. It was, you know, for a long time there was no dialogue. The two of them didn't speak, and often they'd get on the bus and something had happened, you know, the previous night, and it would be really tense, and they'd be full of that. Whatever had happened between them, and then they wouldn't speak the whole time on the bus or something, and that kind of thing. You know, the ability to hold yourself back from dialogue is almost as strong as an ability as writing the dialogue itself. So I like that about it. So I don't know if that's the right.
That is absolutely a great takeaway, and I would wholeheartedly agree. It's a wonderful book, a book that stirs a great deal of emotion, and I think, you know, any time a story can do that, then there's got to be something of value to us as human beings. So, you know, it might be for the older teen reader, but I think anyone from the older teen reader right through to our very old age will gain something from this book, because it's beautiful.
Absolutely, I agree.
So we come to the prompt of the week. We always give a free writing prompt, and I don't have Brian here to write one for us, so we're going to go with mine. Here we go. You're always the odd one out in any group, and often have your leg pulled because of it. One day, something happens that elevates your importance to the group as status critical. What is it, and why don't you want to accept it? Da-da-da-da.
Oh.
You can write a response to the prompt of the week at thesplitbookreviews.com, or you can always get in touch with us directly, podcast at thesplitbookreviews.com. You can tweet us at thesplitbook. You can leave comments on YouTube, on our channel. You can leave us a review on iTunes. We'd love to know what you thought about this episode. If you've read Eleanor and Parker, if you intend to read Eleanor and Parker as a result of the review. Once again, I'd like to thank Trudi J of the Magic Carnival series for doing such a wonderful and detailed job. Brian is going to have to step up.
Well, thank you very much for having me again. I'm very privileged to be here on your 52nd book review.
Yes, so, and tell the listeners again, where can they get in touch with you? Where can they find you?
I'm at www.trudijayrights.com. That's TRUDIJAYE rights.com. And all the information you might need is at that website. So go there.
I strongly recommend you get hold of Trudi's books. They're wonderful. And Trudi will be back not next week, but the week after. Next week, we are reviewing The Immortal Rules by Julie Kagawa. Trudi, have you read that?
No, yet another book that you've mentioned that I haven't read. I'm going to have to get reading.
I won't give away too much, but it's a vampire story, and when it goes to air, it'll be airing just before Halloween, so perfect timing. And not your average vampire story. No sparkliness in this one.
Wow.
So you'll have to listen out for that one. Thank you once again, and it's a great pleasure. You'll be back the week after next, where we'll be reviewing a James Patterson young adult novel in episode 54, The Angel Experiment. So I'm really looking forward to chatting with you about that one. Thank you again. I'm Robert Scanlon from the Dreamer Chronicles. That's Trudi J from the Magic Carnival series, and we are The Split. And just remember, people, when you next get on the bus or on the train or on a plane, you never know who you're going to meet.
Thank you guys for watching. Somewhere on this page is a subscribe button to the Split channel. We do reviews every week. We would love it if you followed us every single week. Isn't that right, Robert?
That's exactly right. Follow us now. Hit the subscribe button.
Do it.